Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Krista Davis. I am Olentangy's Chief Communication Officer, and we are excited to have you all here with us this evening. With me tonight is Todd Meyer, Superintendent, Ryan Jenkins, Treasurer, Jack Fetty, Deputy Superintendent, and Jeff Gordon, our Chief Operations Officer. What we'll do this evening is share facts with you about the bond issue coming up in November 4th, 2025. And then we'll have an opportunity for you to put questions in the chat, and we will moderate those and share those. So for example, if there are multiple of the same type of question, I might summarize those and pose the question to our panelists, which are Mr. Meyer, Mr. Jenkins, Dr. Fetty, and Mr. Gordon. So we will get started right with that and begin with Mr. Meyer, Superintendent Meyer, to share a little bit with us first.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Davis, and thank all the community members who are attending with us tonight. So first, we're going to talk about enrollment. When I talk to people in the community, I don't think anybody disagrees or tries to debate our enrollment. So our first slide shows our historical and projected enrollment. Historical going back to the 14-15 school year, and then projections going to the 34-35 school year. I do want to say this chart was created by our facilities committee. Our facilities committee has a subcommittee who looks at our enrollment and studies our enrollment over time. And, just kudos to them, because every year, just so impressed with their enrollment forecast. They're typically within 1% every year. So this is from last October, and we, as a district, will update our enrollment moving forward and present to the board in October coming up. So, a few things I want to point out is that in the last 10 years, our enrollment was increase was about 5,000 students. In the next 10 years, you can see it almost mirrors the last 10 years. So in the last 10 years in our district, the community did support the construction of what's equivalent to 5 buildings: Berlin High School, Berlin Middle School, Shale Meadows Elementary School, and Peach Blow Crossing Elementary School, as well as additions to Arrowhead, 6 classrooms, preschool classrooms, 6 preschool classrooms to Alum Creek, 6 preschool classrooms to Wyandotte Run, and we renovated 12 classrooms into preschool classrooms at the Shanahan Complex. And for us, with those renovations, 30 classrooms, which equates to an elementary school. Rob, if you want to move forward. So again, enrollment for us, continued growth and rapid growth. We're averaging 400 to 500 new students per year over the last decade. So for us, that remains one of our biggest challenges, and our biggest challenge for us is we need to accommodate the growth that's here and that will continue to come into the district over the next decade. So here you can see, as we stand today at the elementary level of our elementary utilization, and again, our capacity at the elementary, which was set by the facilities committee, is 625 students. And we always talk about our capacity in our schools at here, elementary, middle school, and high school. And we do operate some of the largest high schools or schools in the state, largest high schools, middle schools, and elementaries. The average elementary school across the state is 450 students. Our average currently across our 17 elementaries is 650 students. So you can see here, we have 2 pressure points. And again, 7 seven of the 17 elementaries are at or over capacity, but we're going to illustrate here two pressure points for us, Indian Springs and Liberty Tree, which are our two largest elementaries. As many of you know, or if you don't, if you drive by Indian Springs, we have 4 trailer classrooms outside of Indian Springs to accommodate the enrollment there. And then at Liberty Tree, we have 6 connector classrooms that connect Liberty Tree and Hyatt's Middle School. So Liberty Tree is using all 6 of those connector classrooms this year. And the reason that they're able to do that is because in the past, Hyatt's actually used those 6 connector classrooms, but by us opening Berlin Middle School, we were able to relieve some of the middle school enrollment. So it gives on that campus the ability for Liberty Tree. So it equates to 6 and 4, 10 classrooms. And you can see there by the 27-28 school year, Indian Springs, if by doing nothing, would have 900 students, then 28-29, Liberty Tree, 900 students. And what's shaded there in the 27-28 school year, the elementary utilization, if successful with the bond issue, elementary 18 would open in the 27-28 school year. Next slide, please. So we're going to move on to the high school. So high school capacity at 1,800 students, and you can already see that we're at or over capacity in 3 of the 4 of our high schools, and at capacity at Olentangy High School. And just this week, actually, Berlin High School passed up Orange High School as our highest enrolled high school. So you can see there, Berlin High School plus 2,300 students by 28-29. So that's increased enrollment year over year there at Berlin, as well as our other high schools. 2,700 and 30-31, 3,100 and 33-34. So it's for sure a challenge for us because we continue to grow at the high school level, and our enrollments in all of our high schools continue to grow. So this is with doing nothing, and obviously we don't have the capacity to put 24, 25, 2,700 students in a high school. So without doing nothing, we would have to, for sure, if we're not successful, redistrict out of Berlin High School into our other high schools. Next slide, please. So some context around just our rapid enrollment growth. It's already here and will continue. We're projected to level out about 2042. And right now, and we'll get an update here in October, but last report was a little over 32,000 students in 2042. So just some context, our preschool enrollment is 57% larger than it was 10 years ago. That's also a challenge for us because for us, we have to find space for our preschool students. Elementary school enrollment has grown by equivalent of 7 classrooms of students each year for the past 10 years, and the pace of future growth is increasing. So for us, 70 classrooms, that's a little over 2 elementary schools. Today's actual enrollment in grades 5 through 8, that 4-grade band, is larger than enrollment in grades 9 through 12. Currently, and as I stated, 10 elementary classrooms are housed outside of our regular school buildings to accommodate the growth. And again, those 2 buildings currently, Indian Springs and Liberty Tree. All 4 of our current high schools, again, are at or over building capacity and growing. So for us, Olentangy is projected to approach 2,000 more students by 2028 and grow by over 5,000 in the next 10 years. Next slide, please. So I'm going to just kind of go back in time. So you can see our building needs elementary 18, 19, and 20, and I would say even in future years, another elementary or two, high school 5, middle school 7, and the rebuilding of Shanahan Middle School. So as I'm sure all community members on this call and district employees know, in 2024, we tried a proactive approach with a three-part issue, a bond issue to construct 5 buildings to really set the district up for the next decade, combined with an operating and permanent improvement level. We weren't successful, so we did have a lot of conversations with the Board of Education, listened to a lot of community members. So again, pared this ask way back to address just immediate need with elementary 18 and high school 5 there. And again, ongoing challenges for us. Enrollment continues to be something that we have to work very hard and diligently to manage each and every year. Aging facilities and equipment, maintaining safety and security, continued operating funds, which we'll talk more about here because there's been a lot of questions about the ability for us to operate these 2 new buildings, and then as well as existing building updates as our buildings continue to age across the district. Next slide, please. So we get this question. For us in the school business, our main revenue stream locally has been from asking our community to approve levies or bond issues. So that also continues to be a challenge as far as us advocating for additional state funding, and it's something that we will continue to advocate for from the State House, because we say for every additional state dollar that we get from the state is one less dollar that we have to ask from our local community members. But these are the types of levies: an operating levy, which operates the district and pays for personnel and supplies. Permanent improvement would improve facilities and capital improvements, and then the bond to construct the construction of new facilities. So again, this ask we've pared back, and we feel it's the most cost-conscious, cheapest ask that we can ask the community. No new millage bond issue to, again, construct immediate need of 2 buildings, elementary 18 and high school 5. Next slide, please. Which, again, I'm going to turn this over to Ryan Jenkins, our CFO treasurer, because he's going to talk through the no new millage strategy that we've used in the past. It's been a proven strategy for us, and Ryan will talk about that strategy that we've used in the past, and then what that means for us moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Members of the community, thank you for tuning in this evening. There's not a typo. My first name is Timothy, but I go by Ryan. I know you can probably see that my sign in is Timothy_Jenkins. It's one and the same person. But what we wanted to talk about on this slide was that the no additional millage strategy is a proven strategy that has worked in the district. And there's about 37% of the buildings that we've constructed have been constructed using the no additional millage strategy. That would include a couple of high schools. It obviously, as you can see, includes 3 middle schools. It includes 8 elementary schools when you consider some of the renovations and classroom additions that we did at Arrowhead, Allen Creek, and Wyandotte Run. And it's also impacted our preschool at Shanahan. So it's something that we've been able to implement over time as a district. And Rob, if you'll go to the next slide, we'll kind of see graphically what the last 15 years have looked like in the Olentangy district. And what you have is a graph that shows our bond millage rates since 2010. And 2010 is collected in 2011, so you'll actually see the rates beginning in 2011. And there are little call outs that show key events in our history. In 2011, we would have passed our first no additional bond millage issue. We would have passed a second no additional bond millage issue in 2016, and then we passed a final one in 2020. As you can see, the tax rate for debt collections has only gone down since 2011. It was at a high of 8.72 mils, as the chart shows in 2011. It would have come down even with a successful bond issue passage in 2016. And then at the far right of the graph, as a district, we have actually proactively worked with the Delaware County Auditor 2 years in a row to reduce the tax rate for debt collections by 1.5 mils. We did 1.25 mils in 2023. We did another 1/4 mil in 2024. And that 1.5 mils, if that tax rate was still being assessed, would be an additional $230 per year on a home with an average value in our district right now of right around $500,000. So Rob, if you're ready for the next slide, I am too. So in 2025, you can see that we are asking, November 4th of 2025, we're asking our voters for a $235 million bond issue. This issue, or the legislation, does two things. The voters vote on the ability for the district to issue the $235 million, and that is the equivalent of us selling, quite literally, the securities of the Olentangy School District. Investors purchase those securities. That raises the capital. We use the capital then to construct the buildings that we've discussed. And then the other part of the bond issue, that is the no additional millage strategy, is that the bond issue also authorizes a tax rate that could be, and that's the key word, that could be assessed in order to pay back the debt service to those who end up purchasing our debt. And ultimately, that's the part that we can do without increasing the tax rate. The question isn't a, you must. It's a could you, or you have the ability, and we will not be collecting any additional mills. And that's, as we've shown in the previous slides, that's a strategy that's been implemented multiple times over the years. So Rob, if you're ready, I'm ready for the next slide as well. So this is a graphic that's probably pretty familiar for those of you who've done some research. It's what we put on our website. It's kind of what we're doing to talk about the fact that if passed, it won't increase the tax rate. It's going to allow us to construct desperately needed schools to address our classroom growth and overcrowding. Again, as Mr. Meyer noted, we've grown by over 5,000 students in the past 10 years. We know we have projections to grow by an additional 5,000 plus students in the near future. And the proposed bond issue invests in facilities that are going to allow us to meet enrollment growth. And again, we're going to say without increasing the tax rate for our residents. We believe that this is the most efficient and economic ask that we can make to be able to still meet our needs of constructing these facilities. So if you'll advance to the next slide, Rob, the next slide shows our commitment, and it's reflected also in the auditor's website. Our Board of Education has already passed a resolution stating that even though, if you'll recall a couple of slides ago, I mentioned that passing the bond issue authorizes the issuance of the $235 million in securities, but it also authorizes up to 1.77 mils to be collected to pay back that debt. And we mean what we say when we say that we're not going to collect it. Hadn't collected additional mills in aggregate, as you could see on the graph 2 or 3 slides ago. And if you go to the Delaware County Auditor's website, many of you may know that there is a tax estimator. When you click on that tax estimator, when you're looking at your property, if you input a little bit of data, it will talk about any levy that is on the ballot on November the 4th. We have highlighted what you can see here in this slide is that the auditor by law and the legislation must show that there is, the ability to collect up to 1.77 mils, but it is highlighted in yellow, as you can see, that we simply aren't going to do that as a district. We have a proven track record that shows that we stand behind our word and that we will not increase the tax rate for our residents. So I'm going to go ahead now and turn it back over to Mr. Meyer to give a little insight about a few more things, including the location of the schools.
Okay. Am I back on, Rob?
Yes.
Okay, because the screen looks different. Okay. Um, so this is a common question that we often get as far as the location of the new schools. So if you can see all the way west on this map, you can see elementary 18 and then high school 5. And so when the west part of our district, and that's Sawmill Parkway, which goes north towards Delaware. So Sawmill that crosses Bean Aller and that roundabout. So just west of Bean Aller, or west of Sawmill Parkway on Bean Aller. So it would be the southwest corner. We own 24 acres. That will be the site of elementary 18. And then if you, and again, somebody asked me about that land. So 24 acres, and then the district purchased that land back in 2007. So if you continue to go north on Sawmill Parkway, and then you would come to I think it's the second or maybe third roundabout in the northwest part of our district is Bunty Station. So just west of Sawmill Parkway on Bunty Station, so that would be the northwest side, is the site for High School 5, where we own 139 acres. So definitely enough acreage to put a high school as well as a future elementary, if we need a future elementary that we can also put on that campus similar to Liberty High School in Indian Springs. And then if you want to go east on the map to the central part of our district, we also own land in the northern central part of our district up on Curve Sweeney Road. And that's enough land for a middle school and an elementary. And then if you go all the way east, we also have a pad there of acreage that we own on the Berkshire Middle School campus. So again, this is all district-owned land, and long before I got here, boards of educations and administrators obviously had conversations with our facilities committee as far as projecting growth in the district, and we were able to purchase some land options across the district for future growth. Okay. Next slide, please. I think Ryan, I'm going to turn it back to you on the next slide.
One of the final questions that we get as we've talked about this issue is, we see that it's just a bond issue, and will you ultimately not have the operating dollars to run or open the facilities? And the answer to that question is, as a district, we are growing, as we've made the case here this evening, and have been growing for many, many years. And in order to keep up with that growth, we have to add staff, teachers, and the ability for all kids to have a high quality education. So as a district, we know, and the 5-year forecast was just submitted, that the pace that we're on would look at an operating ask. Probably if I had to say right now, what does the data say? It would be in the 27-28 school year, and we're targeting probably spring of 28. That being said, we will make it last every bit as long as we can, and the forecast will change, just like any forecast. It has to be monitored, modified, and reviewed. But what the two charts that you see in front of you show is that a lot of folks think that when you open a building, every single staff member is new, and that's not the case. You have about probably a quarter to 30% of your staff that would be brand new, and generally that's for things like your administrative team, your custodial staff, your kitchen staff. But remember, part of the reason we're opening facilities is to relieve the numbers of students that are in existing buildings. And so teachers transfer, and that allows us to not have to just completely, a high school has about 180 to 200 staff members top to bottom. We're not hiring a brand new 180 people. So what these two show is on top, you're seeing how the forecast looks with the staffing changes that we need as a district regardless, plus the ones that we would need should elementary 18 open in the fall of 2027 and high school 5 open in the fall of 2028. The bottom graph would show, or the bottom chart I should say, essentially the same picture of the district with just the slight adjustment that those two buildings wouldn't open. The days cash, especially as you look at the end of the forecast, is, it's an immaterial difference. So we want to be clear with the community that we are asking for exactly what we need right now in order to meet enrollment growth. But it's not going to be that we're not able to open buildings in 2 years when these buildings are done. Yet we also know as a district that an operating ask is within the next 2 to 3 years. And if we make it like we hope and like we're planning to the fall, the spring of 2028, that will have been almost 8 years since an operating levy passed, because the last operating levy that has passed in our district was in May of 2020. And I think that's the next slide, Rob, we'll take, I suppose, questions.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. We are going to take questions now. I'm going to remind everyone that if you put your questions in the chat, we will try and hit on the major themes that are being asked about. And so with that, we'll start with some enrollment and growth questions. The first question I would like to direct toward Dr. Fetty, and that is, why are we doing so much in preschool enrollment? Aren't we just a K-12 district?
That's a good question. Good evening, everyone. We are not just a K-12 district. We are obligated by the state of Ohio to serve preschoolers as well as kindergartners through 12th graders. Actually, we serve students all the way until their 22nd birthday if they qualify for services. We currently operate 39 preschool classrooms around our district with nearly 600 preschoolers as of today. Preschool presents a specific challenge for us, though, because there are state-mandated classroom ratios that are far lower than school-aged ratios. And we have to enroll preschoolers whenever they turn age 3 and qualify for services. So whereas with kindergarten, students are enrolled if their 5th birthday happens by a certain date, preschoolers, as soon as they age into the age of 3 and they have a qualifying disability, we have to begin their service. So currently, this year, we have 39 classrooms operating, and that number is expected to grow along with enrollment.
And Dr. Fetty, could you just also hit our next question about when will the district be completely built out?
So we are always looking at, it's called our student potential forecast. So it's a slightly different forecast than our student enrollment. And that has a lot to do with the size of developments, the number of developments, how utilities reach land, when utilities reach land. But generally right now we're under the belief that our max enrollment will be in the decade of the 2040s.
Thank you. All right, and then I am going to switch back to Superintendent Meyer. And this question is about development. Does the school district have any say on limiting the number of new housing developments being built in our area?
We actually do not. That goes through the zoning commission and in our district 95 square miles. We have 2 counties, 4 cities, and 7 townships. However, I will say we have spent a lot of time the last couple years as far as building rapport and relationships with county and township and city officials, where there has been a lot of discussion on impact to the district. So we'll continue to do that, but we as a district cannot say yes or no, or to as far as development.
Okay. Our next question, thank you, Mr. Meyer, by the way. Have you looked at other options instead of building? Why not construct additions to our buildings? Mr. Meyer, would you like to answer that one?
Jeff's
Or-
on here, so Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Mr. Gordon, I wasn't sure which way we wanted to go. There you go, Mr. Gordon. Have you?
Yes.
Go.
We have looked at expanding buildings, additions. A lot of our buildings were limited by space and the ability to connect to the buildings. But one of the largest reasons that we've come to the conclusion after investigating the cost and the sizes of our buildings is just our school buildings are already some of the largest in the state at all levels. So while we could look at adding on and work around some of the buildings where we could add on, it would just increase our size of buildings beyond what would be reasonable. Again, we're already some of the largest buildings in the state.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Also, while we're publishing our next question, I want to do a little PSA. We will be available in person next Monday night, October 6th at 6:30 p.m. at the Liberty Township Hall to answer questions in person in Powell, and also Tuesday, October 14th at 7:30 a.m. at Starbucks at Olentangy Crossing, near the Olentangy Crossing area, which is Lewis Center. And that you can find on our website and social media, but just wanted to share that here. All right. I'm going to jump to financial, but I do have a question based on impact on enrollment that I'd like us to answer. That is regarding the apartments being built in our community. How does an increase in apartments impact an increase in enrollment? Let's see. Dr. Fetty, would you like to answer that, or Mr. Meyer?
Yeah, I can. I'll answer that, and then if somebody else wants to jump in. But yeah, we answer this question a lot. So the biggest impact in our district as far as growth comes from single family homes. We get a 0.8 yield from a single family home, and then as far as multifamily, we get a 0.2 yield. So when you look at that across our district, our yield out of single family homes is much larger than multifamily units across the district. So, and we look at the data, and our biggest driver for enrollment growth comes from single family homes. Dr. Fetty, you want to add anything to that?
say that how well the district manages the
No,
bond.
I think you covered it. I would add that we have a number of apartments that produce 0 students, and some that produce more than 0. So when we talk about apartments, it's probably important to remember that the size of the apartment, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms, matters as well.
Thank you both. I'm going to shift to Mr. Jenkins for this question. This is a question related to the paying back the debt that we are borrowing. So do we have to pay back? Don't we have to pay back the bond issue at some time? When and how does that happen?
Yes, the money that we borrow, the $235 million, when we sell a security, essentially what you're doing is giving a person a bond or a piece of paper that you have to pay interest payments on for X number of years, and then at the end of that period of time, you pay back the original principal. How do we pay it back? With existing tax collections. That's why it's called a no additional mill bond issue. If you hearken back to the slide that showed the graph, we are currently collecting 6 mills of bond issue debt. That 6 mills is paying our current outstanding securities for the buildings that we've built, and is enough to also allow us to pay the debt issuance should this bond issue be successful without that rate increasing.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. I'm going to ask another question related to finances and then combined with the development. A lot of folks in our area wonder why the taxes from all the new developments don't cover the costs of the new schools. Can you explain how that works for us?
Yes, as a district, we are subject to what are called House Bill 920 tax reduction factors, which were put into law back in the late 1970s. Essentially, as home values increase, the tax rates for voted levies decrease. So, as a district, all we are able to quote unquote get more funds on are new properties. And as much as obviously it appears and is reality that lots of new properties, residential properties, come in each year, the new properties still do not create enough new or additional revenue for the district to be able to meet its needs when we grow as tremendously as we do. And the other way to think about it is each new home generally also comes with a new student to educate. Mr. Meyer referred earlier to our yield or our density being 0.8 for single family homes. That means for every 5 single family homes that get built each year, we know we're going to have 4 students to educate. So when you do the math of the existing tax rate being applied to new homes when it comes to operations, it simply doesn't keep up operationally. But that's also the beauty of what we're doing here. This is just a bond issue. So we would not be seeking additional mills. We would not be increasing the tax rate, because all we're seeking to do is to generate funds to build buildings. We're not seeking an operating ask with this levy. Again, that's why we're able to not increase the tax rate.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. The next question I am going to pose will be kind of a two-parter. I'd like Mr. Meyer, if you could answer how the district will manage if the bond issue fails this November. from a district-wide standpoint, what that student experience might look like, what will happen in our schools, and then Mr. Jenkins, if you could follow up with what that also would look like if the bond issue fails from a financial perspective.
Sure. So, first of all, we would continue to look at enrollment, and we already showed some pressure points. So we would have to make decisions on adding additional trailers to school sites to accommodate their current enrollment. We would have to look at redistricting, or sometimes we call it pocket redistricting, out of some of those buildings. And if it continues on, and I don't want to stress redistricting, because we may have to redistrict students out of buildings into trailers at other schools, depending on where we see enrollment. Obviously, we would look at increasing class sizes across the district. So these are things that we will do. And I also want to note too, because again, we've talked a lot about how large our schools already are, and just want to talk a little bit about the magnitude of our district and the size and the scope of our district, and what our staff shows up every day to do to care for our kids. So just tremendous care and education that our staff provides for our kids, and we'll continue to do that. Obviously, we'd be faced with challenges in making some of these decisions as far as enrollment at particular school buildings, and then how we're going to accommodate that. As far as the student experience and opportunities, again, as our schools continue to increase, we will have less opportunities in our schools. I talked to actually some students just within the last week at a couple of our high schools, and talked about the increased enrollment in the schools, and then as far as opportunities and impact if we continue to increase the enrollment. And there were for sure concerns from the students relative to opportunities. I'll say, as a former high school principal, and this is a fact, the larger our schools get, the less personalized they get. And it's one thing that we really do a good job in Olentangy, as far as personalizing the education and getting to know our kids and families. So with increased enrollment, that's for sure going to decrease. So that's a little bit about the challenges that we would face as a district. Again, just kind of to recap, adding additional trailers, redistricting, pocket redistricting, increased class sizes in our schools.
From a financial perspective, the district would still have a 6 mils of debt collections that it would be collecting for its existing debt. Ultimately, the biggest issue and the biggest impact for the district is what Mr. Meyer noted. We would not have the room that we need to be able to educate students in ways that we feel are most educationally appropriate. We talked about some of the fixes that would have to be put into place that he just mentioned. I know there's a couple of questions that I can see in the chat that I could sort of talk about as well, though. One of the questions asks about, if the bond issue passes, won't it extend, the life of the debt and tax payments? As Dr. Fetty, pointed out, we don't get built out as a district until probably the mid 2040s. So yes, should this bond issue pass and we issue the $235 million, it'll have the same payback time frame as basically any other building that we've built. You're talking a 25 to 30 year commitment for us to be able to pay the debt back on those buildings. And that's consistent, though, of what we've dealt with as a community since the late 1990s. The life of these buildings, from an accounting point of view, is around 25 to 30 years as far as for how long you can issue debt. Certainly, we make the buildings last, and they're fantastic buildings, but we continue to grow. And so that's just simply a reality that would extend that for this particular issue if it passes.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. I would like to jump to Mr. Gordon about our trailers. Are they leased or rented? We don't own them, do we? And what does that look like for the district?
Our trailers are currently leased. The cost is considerable when we have to move the trailers around the district. So we have chosen to lease them and not have to permanently maintain them. So when we have to continue to add them in different locations around the district, the cost is considerable to do that in the neighborhood of I believe over $100,000, in addition to renting and all of those costs for setting up, adds up quickly, and we do not buy them.
Thank you. We have had a few questions about developers, and so I wanted to be sure we hit on that. Currently, are there any parameters set for developers to contribute to our schools upon sales of new homes? And maybe this could be a two-part. Mr. Meyer and Mr. Jenkins speak to the developer relationship with the district, if at all, and what that looks like.
Sure, I'll start, and it kind of goes back to impact on the district when we have discussion with developers. And over the years, we have had developers who has donated land to build schools on. As far as the other part of that, I'll turn it over to Ryan as far as what some of those legal requirements are, as far as developers, because we get this question a lot, actually paying for the schools.
So school districts are creatures of statute, just simply meaning that all of our authority comes from the law. And our legislators make the law, and this isn't intended to try to pass the buck, but there's simply no legal mechanism whatsoever for school districts to force developers or any other individual who happens to be constructing a home to pay any type of impact fee or school development fee. The only way is through the levies that we currently assess, being equitably assessed as our Constitution requires across all of our property in the district. So there's just no way right now for school districts to be able to force cities and townships or counties. As Mr. Meyer noted, we have good partnerships with our cities, counties, and townships, excuse me. But we can't force or make them, and they have the right by law to do some of the things that they do, because whereas we're interested in being able to educate all students, cities, counties, townships have an interest in bettering the community through housing and utilities and public infrastructure. So some of the tools that they use and some of the things that they have available, help to grow the community, but also, allow folks with kids to come that we end up having to educate. So there's just no way for the school district to have the authority to just simply stop that or make it not happen.
Hey, Chris, I want to add one more thought to that.
Okay.
So thank you, Mr. Jenkins, but also I want to talk macro as far as the central economic region here in Central Ohio, because it does impact Olentangy schools for sure, but school districts that have good schools around Central Ohio, because the economic region is really, really strong. And we just heard this, I believe it was last week or the week before at our Bridging the Future event with One Columbus. The Central Ohio population is growing and will continue to grow. So when businesses move here or they expand, employees also and families move here to Central Ohio, and they typically will move to places that have good schools. So as Mr. Jenkins said, when families land here in Olentangy or in Central Ohio, and they investigate schools and then come to Olentangy, we have to educate as a public school all students. So I just wanted to add that as far as the macro level of the Central Ohio region.
Great. Thank you for sharing that perspective with us. We want to be mindful of our time winding down. I have one last question I'm going to pose to Mr. Jenkins about the tax rate. And that is if this issue does not pass, I think you kind of have touched on this a little bit, but directly, could you share if the issue doesn't pass, will the tax rate go down?
The district won't seek to have the tax rate decrease, no. Um, Ultimately, we know that we still need more facilities. We have to be able to meet our growing need. And while it could be possible that a reduction in the debt service tax rate would be implemented if for whatever reason there was an extended period of time where as a district we weren't seeking an additional bond issue. All that would happen then when we needed to build buildings would be that the bond issue would cause the rate to go back up. So we have a window and an opportunity right here to be able to take advantage of the existing tax rate. That would allow us the margin, and that was one of the questions that someone asked earlier. So essentially the existing tax rate being applied to some of the new homes is what allows this strategy to work, and that's exactly right. Ultimately, if the tax rate goes down and then yo-yos back up again in 2 years, that is, what we're trying to be efficient with, and that's part of why the no additional millage strategy right now we believe makes the most economic sense, as opposed to some type of up and down oscillation of tax rates moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. I think we have hit on the big topics. We are very appreciative of those of you who have joined us this evening and answered or asked questions for us to answer. We really want to encourage individuals to check out our website. We have an FAQ, we have a ballot issue page with some of the information we've shared this evening, as well as our FAQs, our contact information, and ways to get a hold of us. And then again, I wanted to reiterate that next Monday night, we will be at 6:30 p.m. at the Liberty Township Hall in Powell, and Tuesday, October 14th in the morning at 7:30 at the Starbucks at Olentangy Crossing and Lewis Center. We would love to see you there and answer questions. Our hope is really to be able to get all your questions answered so that you can go to the ballot November 4th with all your questions answered and cast an educated vote. So thanks again, Mr. Meyer, Mr. Jenkins, Dr. Fetty, Mr. Gordon, for being here to answer our community members' questions. And thanks to all of you for being with us. Good night.